Okay, with the 75 people they say they interviewed, did they say anything about video was
Yes,
recording?
they have collected video.
So it is video of the incident?
Yes, they have collected video. It is crazy that America tells us to accept the self-defense claim of George Zimmerman, Kyle Rittenhouse, and so many other people. But when the shoe is on the other foot, that claim is absurd. And I just gotta call a spade a spade. No matter what my personal views of a case may be, it is quite contradicting for America to come back and say, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse can have it, George Zimmerman can have it, all of these individuals that don't look like the color of my skin can't have it. In the state of Texas, we live in a state where yet you can walk around with a permitless carry, you can walk around with a brass knuckles, you can walk around with a knife, you can walk around with all these things. AK-47 in the state of Texas. And then as soon as you see a black person exercise those rights, we now have a problem. And that's not me spitting hate or race or bigotry. That's the facts.
Oh man, so despite the wishes from Austin Metcalf's father, tensions continue to rise on social media after the Texas teen Karmelo Anthony's defense fund is nearing $300,000, okay? Now people are donating so that he can get the best representation as he's facing first-degree murder charges after an altercation at a track meet ended with 17-year-old Austin Metcalf losing his life. Now in response to this report, people are bashing the black community and attempting to flag and report the campaign so they can end the shit. Now, in response to that, they're being called hypocrites because folks like Daniel Penny and Kyle Rittenhouse received similar support. Even goddamn Luigi Mangione got the same love, and we all know that he killed the healthcare dude in cold blood, so this is crazy. Now, what you heard at the beginning of the video was a representative from the Next Generation organization that's representing the Karmelo Anthony family. Alright, now the homie comes and debunks several things such as whether Karmelo and the Metcalf brothers knew each other before the incident, and he also said that there is videos that the police officers have of the altercation. All right, hold on tight to that. Let's get to these scenes first and we'll get to that interview. So as of now, this is where the fund stands for Karmelo Anthony. $300,000 goal, and is at $246,000 and rapidly growing. Okay, it's going crazy. Every single minute people are showing support to the young man for a situation, and it's interesting seeing the reaction, especially with what we've seen before. Now, this whole thing from the black community is a response. People that are shaming the black community cannot be upset because they're just doing what they've seen done before. No situation is exactly the same, none. But still in a situation where they thought that people were obviously going to be found guilty for what they've done, such as Kyle Rittenhouse or Daniel Penny, they see, oh, even if you do kill someone, if you have an argument for self-defense, it's a possibility that you can get off. So seeing that, in response, people are saying it is a possibility that he can get off if he has good representation. Now, and also with those people having their own campaigns funded for their defenses, Karmelo Anthony supporters are following the same trend, the same process, and starting their Give, Sing, Go campaigns to help his defense. But nevertheless, you have someone like this right here that's trying to take down the campaign. She's trying to claim fraud and file all she can to stop this shit. And this is after them stopping plenty of GoFundMe campaigns. Now, GoFundMe does have strict rules to stop any type of support for anyone's defense in any case such as this one right here. This one right here, you cannot use GoFundMe, okay? But Give, Sing, Go, we've seen people use this to gather money for someone's defense before. Don't change it up now. We got dudes like Buddy right here going off.
Damn, what the hell's wrong with them? Stay strong, young man. Allah is with you?
I don't know who he is, though.
What do you mean he's with you?
This dude is going through the donations and reading them and chastising them on his platform. This is crazy, all right? This dude right here says black people will raise money for murderers, while just ignoring the situation in the past that I just explained before. George Zimmerman raised just over $200K online, lawyers say. We seen Luigi's situation on camera. That man almost at $1 million, boy. Daniel Penny, $3.3 million. And don't forget the golden child Rittenhouse. He got some good bread, you know, in support for him. It was crazy support, bro. The least folks could do is just mind their business as people are trying to make sure the kid has representation. That's his right. And you guys have done it in other situations. You guys have been seen supporting it in other circumstances when a kid doesn't look like me. The same guy Jay Shear showing love to Rittenhouse. I don't know, man. Maybe they're just surprised that black folks could come together and organize and pool their money for a simple cause. Maybe that's the thing. I don't get it, but maybe that's the thing. And there's a great chance that it's more than just black people supporting the young man as he's going through the situation. Okay, now here's my personal opinion on what's going on so far. I've read more in this case and I've seen the full arrest report, okay? There are still conflicting stories. I'm gonna flash some witnesses' testimonies on the screen, but in summary, dog, as I'm factoring in all the accounts that was told, yes, it was raining. Karmelo eventually stopped under the Memorial High School tent to sit down, and yes, Karmelo did have a friend under that team's tent, which was confirmed by a witness. Now, once again, corroborated by witness testimonies, Austin Metcalf was the initiator of the verbal altercation, and Austin Metcalf was the aggressor in the physical altercation, which is confirmed by a witness, okay? Austin pushed Karmelo to get him outside of the tent, okay? Now, after Austin pushed Karmelo is when Karmelo then went to retrieve his weapon. Now, here's where things get tricky. One witness said Melo made verbal warnings, but that witness also left out Austin pushing Karmelo. But nevertheless, I'm thinking that after the push is when the warnings from Karmelo started to begin. That's me speculating because it was at this point that Karmelo finally retrieved the knife. Now, Austin once again attempted to engage with Karmelo, and that's when he was stabbed in the chest. And I personally wish he didn't stab him. I wish he would have just smacked fire out of Austin for pushing him. That's what I would have wanted to happen. But another perspective is that Karmelo is under another team's tent, and although he does have a friend there, he is outnumbered. So he may be in fear of getting jumped after throwing hands with Austin, and Austin's twin already admitted that he was also talking trash to Karmelo. So Karmelo honestly was well within his rights to defend himself, but to what degree? That's the big thing here. That's what the jury and the judge has to decide on. But to what degree was he within his rights to defend himself? None of the stuff matters about the tan and shed, whether he was able to sit there or not. He was within his rights to be whatever he wanted to be. He was chilling with his friends, and this is not far-fetched at all at a track meet for someone to go another person's tent for a good second, say hi, vibe for a second, and then move and roll out. This whole entire argument was started by some petty ass shit that was 100% avoidable. So once again, what it's all is going to boil down to is whether the jury believes Karmelo escalated things too far with the knife. All right. Now, in regards to the human aspect of things, God rest Austin's soul, but bro, you're pushing the dude. Then he goes into his backpack and dares you to touch him. Bruh, he obviously just grabbed a weapon. The moment anybody goes into a backpack, a trunk, a glove department, dude, the fight is over, my boy. Keep it pushing. You got to say, you got it, and then keep it moving. You don't continue to try to fight a dude after that warning, bruh. That's a death wish. And I know he gone, but I'm talking to you. You watching this video right now, I'm talking to you. Hopefully you know better. But you don't do that. That young man would still be here today if he simply just said, you got it. Now I could see if it was all one fluid action, like they fighting, the next thing you know, he just gets stabbed. No, but it seemed like they had a chance to pause, allowing him to consider this, and the young fella chose to assert his dominance, and that ended up being the worst decision, nevertheless, but
I want to start off by saying real quick that my comments are represented today by the Next Generation Action Network that have been working with the Anthony family from the advocacy standpoint. I'm not the Anthony family attorney. Of course, the Next Generation Action Network is no stranger to this line of work. And we have been representing families for the last 10 years from an advocacy standpoint to get to the bottom of this situation. The Next Generation Action Network, since the past week, have gotten thousands of calls regarding this situation and making sure that our organization was involved in this situation because of the growing tension of racism and bigotry involving with the case.
Exactly like I told y'all. Everything that's going on online by the black community is in response to what's been going on by some race baiters. I'm not saying by white people, because it's black people that's doing it too. but it's in response to race baiters that then begin to demean Karmelo and then use this as an overarching reason to shame black people and black culture, quote unquote.
The Anthony family cannot leave their home because of the growing threats towards their safety. Their personal address has been exposed. They have received graphic and racist threats. They are being targeted with violence and simply because their child is in the center of this tragedy. Our heart goes out to the family of Austin Metcalf, but we do not erase the right of the Anthony family to be protected and heard and treated with dignity. That's why today we spoke with the Frisco Police Department leadership to demand answers. Today in this meeting, we talked about and was able to give them graphic images of what this family has had to deal with for the last couple of days. It is sad. We have saw the police chief, a statement being sent out by the police chief that was false. We have saw a false autopsy report that was false. We have to caution the community to say, hey, we cannot trust everything that is online. The disinformation that is going online is hurting this case, and it has to stop. It has to stop, y'all. As we know it right now, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony did not know each other. They did not know each other. Let's stop it. They were not at a party together. Let's stop the lies regarding this situation.
So that is in response to the story that I never reported on, but I heard it. So you guys may be wondering why I never said anything about the past bullying altercation between them two. I never seen anything to confirm that. So this right here is in reaction to that. And that was coming from black people that were pushing the narrative that there were bullies before. And that's the reason why I was smoked when they seen them today. I didn't feel comfortable sharing that. And that's why I used discretion and did not report on it. So people that may think, let me not do this, because I did see a lot of people that was in my comment section saying that, thank you for being as fair as possible, even though I have my opinion, but being as fair as possible while covering the situation. So that was something that was going on online. It wasn't true.
We also know that both Austin Metcalf, the twin brothers, were on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We also know that Karmelo Anthony was on the roster that day to be at that track meet.
So that goes towards the narrative about Karmelo Anthony skipping. Someone just told me probably like an hour ago when asked me about this case, oh, I heard he was skipping. That's not true. That's not true.
We know they both arrived, all of them arrived to this facility via the transportation of Frisco ISD. The lies has to stop, y'all. Far as the legal strategy, I'm not talking about that today because that's not my place. I'm not the lawyer. I think you guys have all had a statement in regards that the lawyers have asked for a bond reduction and they will release that in the way.
You raised serious questions about their thoroughness and fairness of the investigation, saying that you guys have spoken to coaches and other people that witnessed it and that they didn't follow up with them. Were you able to have that conversation with the assistant chief and resolve that?
I was able to have that question, and we were able to give those individual names up because the Next Generation Action Network do not want to interfere in the investigation. We're not going to release who they are, but we were able to have that conversation today. You know what I mean? That's what prompted them to even be able to come. And also, we not only talked about people who were speaking out like that had information regarding the case. We also reported people in official capacities, like people who are teachers, government officials, that have used their own personal social media to placate in the hate and the false narratives that are coming out against Karmelo Anthony. And we were able to report that information to them regarding that.
Do you stand by that though, that did they acknowledge that some witnesses have not been contacted by police, or were you
To be exact, Frisco Police Department was able to tell me that they have interviewed over 75 people, and it's ongoing. But they did acknowledge that there are people who have not been interviewed in regards to this case. They are aware of that. That wasn't, like based on the information that we were getting, it was very hard for us to be able to, see what this investigation was going and how it was being together, because we didn't know what to trust. But we had to make sure that we get involved in this situation early so that we can ensure that this investigation is fair and unbiased.
Okay, with the 75 people they say they interviewed, did they say anything about video was
Yes,
recording?
they have collected video.
So it is video of the incident?
Yes, they have collected video.
Okay.
There is video of the actual stabbing?
There's video, there are several different videos that they verified.
What do we know that has been debunked? As far as like the cell phone getting broke, do we know that? Do we know about?
I didn't ask about pretty much cell phone. What I can tell you is on the surface of being debunked is the fact that they did not know each other. There wasn't no, and I want to say this because there is a particular blogger that's getting a lot of views, and it's very detrimental the audience that they're getting, right? And that's the only reason why I justify in saying this on this press conference, because of the type of information that Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony had a fight the day before or a week before, or at this point there's nobody.
And they both were on the roster to run.
There's nothing at this time that support that they knew each other. Okay, you know what I mean? They are both athletes in the same school district. Of course, they probably know of each other, but they do not know each other, right? And so that's a lie. Like the pictures and I believe there was a picture that went on social media saying that this is Austin Metcalf and Karmelo, and that is a lie. So that's a false narrative.
Why did this young man have a gun? Why did this young man have a knife on him to begin with?
I cannot speak to that. I cannot speak to that in regards to that. I can't speak to that because I believe that, first of all, even if I had the answer to that or whatever, I wouldn't say it because that's a part of his defense. And I think there's going to be an appropriate time where they're going to speak to what was going on. What I can do is reiterate that Karmelo Anthony, from the beginning, has continued to display his self-defense claim. And I believe that in America, I always tell this, and I'm just going to speak truth to power in this situation. It is crazy that America tells us to accept the self-defense claim of George Zimmerman, Kyle Rittenhouse, and so many other people. But when the shoe is on the other foot, that claim is absurd. And I just gotta call a spade a spade. No matter what my personal views of a case may be, it is quite contradicting for America to come back and say, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse can have it, George Zimmerman can have it, all of these individuals that don't look like the color of my skin can't have it. In the state of Texas, we live in a state where yet you can walk around with a permitless carry. You can walk around with a brass knuckles. You can walk around with a knife. You can walk around with all these things. AK-47 in the state of Texas. And then as soon as you see a black person exercise those rights, we now have a problem. And that's not me spitting hate or race or bigotry. That's the facts. And like I put a statement, what we're not going to do after 400 years of oppression of black people in America is yet justify ourselves every time a situation comes up with one of our children. We want them to have those same rights that everybody else. We want him to have his same day in court as Cal Rittenhouse. We want him to have his same day in court like anybody else. And he will have that. And he will put up the proper defense. And all of these questions will be answered. But the unfairness in this case is gross. And I think that the people in the community understands that. And that's where some of this pushback is coming from, because there's gross negligence in regards to in huge biases. And that's the reason why the Next Generation Action Network has to get involved with it in the beginning, because we are afforded these rights.
How do you feel like the way?
And need to mind you, I started recording this video before I seen this press conference. So everything I said at the beginning of this video was before I heard this. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth. We were minding our business. I kept seeing Austin Metcalf's face pop up, and then in separate posts I seen Karmelo Anthony start to flood my timeline. Eventually I paid attention, and what I started to notice was the race baiters speaking on the situation. And that's what caught my attention.
The media portrayed at the very beginning when this first came out.
I'll say this. Anybody that is putting stuff out here in this case, and this is the reason why the Next Generation Action Network, until that letter that we sent, stayed silent over the weekend while we investigated this case, because we knew that we had a responsibility to ensure that we put out the facts, truth, and that we knew exactly what we are talking about. And I just say this, the media has a responsibility to ensure when you are putting things out on your platform that you are not feeding into some of the racial divides and some of the biases in regards to this case, right? I can't go into the nuances of it or whatever and stuff like that, but I'll just end with this. In an interview that I know that any prosecutor that got a hold of this case wouldn't have never wanted the brother of Austin Metcalf to do is say what he said on the news. And it is clear, it is clear, in his own words, he stated that Karmelo Anthony said, "Don't put your hands on me." That's it. That's all we hear. Certain things were loosely said. There was loosely said. There were certain things that was loosely said in that interview that I just point people to. I don't want to ignite things or try to, speak for his legal defense or whatever it may be. But he stated, y'all, and the hate that was given regarding this case, the bias, that's what has us here today. He should be afforded the same rights that anybody that displays that self-defense claim. He should have the right to do those things and say those things. And someone getting mad that he say that, and that's what we're saying it. I didn't see you saying that when Cal hit Rittenhouse. And to say that's not the same is absurd. Self-defense was the claim. And all we're doing is asking people to respect this. We know that there is an unfortunate situation. There is a family that has to prepare for a funeral. There is a family. In the next coming days, I hope that the investigation uncovers some of the truth around this case. And that's why we will fully cooperate with making sure that this investigation is done proper. And we ask that people pray for these families and support and do the things that's necessary needed to ensure that we create a real just society. And if anybody got a problem with what I said today, if anybody who continues to say that race is not a factor, if anybody who continues to say all of these insinuating things that I saw on social media, then you might look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're the problem. You're the reason why we cannot get anywhere when it comes to race. We believe wholeheartedly that Karmelo Anthony reserves the right to be able to be afforded the same treatment that any of his white counterparts are given in America. And if this is not the America that can afford him those same rights, then I believe that what black people in America have been saying for over 400 years is correct. Thank you.
This situation didn't go viral until right-wing race baiters started to demean Karmelo Anthony's character and use it to push a narrative about blacks, speaking about how our IQs are low and how violent we are, low impulse control and all this shit like that. All this irrelevant bullshit about black culture being the issue. By the way, where's the national coverage for situations like the Gilbert Goons, a gang of white kids that's been terrorizing Arizona for years, beating white kids to death? What culture is that though? Is that white culture? Or is that clearly some degenerates that should not be associated with the entire race? We're in America, right? Clearly there's an issue with racism here, but is that white culture? Or is that an issue with a certain group of white people? Bet. Okay. So now, why do some of you guys so conveniently lose that ability to distinguish the difference when it comes to my people? And then you had the bootlicking coons like Jason Whitlock. Let me show y'all how this nigga covering the situation. This white chocolate muncher, and I ain't talking about actual chocolate, I'm talking about shit. You eat white shit, okay? This white chocolate muncher right here is covering the situation using the same rhetoric as them folks that's trying to shame black culture and shit, okay? No, he getting his ass toe up by one of the biggest white supremacists, Nick Fuentes. He don't want to admit it no more, but you're a white supremacist, Nick. You are. But even Nick letting it be known that you are a token, Jason Whitlock. Peep this right here. Oh yeah, by the way, Kanye West fans, this is the reason why I don't rock with Kanye West, because he started to campaign with this dude right here. Listen to what he says and then think about your glorious yay.
And by the way, you are a token. Hey, Jason, you're a token. You are in conservative media as a black guy that can confer upon white people the dignity of not being called a racist for having their views. That's why you get paid. And that's why I don't, because I didn't have the privilege of being born black. I was born white, so there's a limit on what I can say. There's a limit on what I can say without being penalized in the so-called free marketplace of ideas. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows. And everybody's sick of it, especially in the conservative space, that blacks have had it easy. It is, and I don't doubt that he's a sincere person. I'm sure he's a sincere person. I'm sure he's genuine. But you are playing by a different set of rules, pal. You have training wheels on. You think you've earned it? Everything you have. Take a look around at your studio, your contract, your employees. If you said the stuff that you said as a white person, your ass would be gone, and everybody knows that. You're on Blaze hosting E. Michael Jones talking about the Jews. It's a good thing you're black, because if you weren't, you would have been fired like Elijah Schaefer.
Man, real quick though. After all the DEI shit that Jason Whitlock been pushing, he got hit with it back in return. That's why I just gotta ask these idiots like this dude right here, bro. Aren't you black too, my boy? Aren't you black too? And I think you are. I think you are. You look like you are. Question: do you have the sudden urge to kill when you're disrespected? Because I don't. Are you a low IQ baboon? I'm not, but are you? Or am I supposed to believe that you were just lucky enough to avoid inheriting these traits? Now, you may think bootlicking makes you feel like you're better than us. You may think that. But you're not even respected by the owners of the asses that you kiss. Let Nick continue cooking your little stupid ass. Big stupid ass, my bad. Big stupid ass.
You would have been fired like every other white person. Everybody knows that. Take a good look at everything around you, because you did not compete to get that. You got it because people feel sorry. People don't want to be called racist. They feel sorry. They need a black person to give them credibility. And if you can't see that, then you're just as ignorant as BLM. If you can't see that, if you can't be honest with yourself about that, you're just as ignorant as the marchers. As a matter of fact, you are as ignorant as the marchers. Just another ignorant crybaby. And you know what? I have no hatred. I really don't. I'm a little bit frustrated with the fact that people are going to challenge my credibility based on what I say, knowing what I've sacrificed, what has happened to me, what has happened to my family. And I'm not trying to play the world's smallest violin, but my sacrifice has been considerable. I have had a considerably more difficult go than almost anybody, because I was willing to tell the truth before it's fashionable about Israel, about race, about globalization, about a wide variety of subjects ever since I was 18 years old.
Whose truth?
I have been censored. I have been financially blacklisted, had to endure financial hardship. I've been targeted. My family's been targeted. So for somebody to come and challenge my credibility or whether I'm being honest, it's totally outrageous. I have no hatred in my heart for people. I have no hatred in my heart for anybody, for that matter, and not for a group based on their race. And I have friends from all different races. It's not hatred. You know, we can't play that card all the time and bitch about racism every single time. With that being said, and it's important to clarify that because you don't want to be typecast as the angry white man that's trying to gin up. I'm not trying to gin up racial resentment. I'm really not. I'm trying to tell you how white people feel. And I'm trying to tell you the truth. And here's the truth of the matter. White people are just done. We're done with the excuses. We're done with the white guilt. We are done with crybaby, ethnic narcissist black people that cannot handle an adult conversation about race. We're done. We pay up the ass in property taxes not to live near these people. We work hard. We pay our taxes. We go to work. We work our fingers to the bone to create a good quality of life for ourselves and for our families. And it has been ceaselessly sabotaged for decades by these animals. And by that, I don't mean every black person. I mean these predators. I mean these opportunists. I mean these adolescents. Where are the parents? Where's the community now? Where are they?
This y'all boy's boy. It's y'all boy's boy. That's why I don't rock with Ye no more.
I'm talking about these young adolescent men, black men, that film themselves running over a physics professor on his bike in New Mexico, laughing and kill him. I'm talking about the young black men that break into 20 businesses in Downers Grove overnight and loot the cash registers. I'm talking about the teen takeovers, the gangbangers. We don't want to live near this stuff anymore. And we all know what's going on. We all know who's doing it. We all know what it is. And we're sick and tired of black people not being able to be honest about it, not being able to take any responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. It's always some white person's fault. It's racism, it's poverty, it's the culture, it's the New Deal, the Great Society, it's Lyndon Johnson, it's the Democrats. You know what? No, I think it's you. I think it's just you.
So in response to that, Jason Whitlock said this right here. He went full Stephen A. I addressed this Fed on Wednesday. I taped today's show late last night after the NCAA title game. I mentioned Fuentes, but was unaware of this, okay? Dude says every black mainstream conservative has that moment when they get a dose of reality about how some white people truly feel about them. He says that moment when they find out black liberals and white bigots feel the same exact way about them, I already knew. No surprise. Also, I'm not a conservative, I'm a Christian. We've known for 1,000 years that the secular hate us. Try again. He says, I'm not a black liberal and I'm also a Christian. Try again. This is crazy. This is crazy, bro. A lot of infighting is going on. I did not expect this. Do y'all think this is a result of what's going on politically that's like trickling down to the infighting? Because I don't know. Everyone needs a villain. And it seemed like things were going so great for the right wing or conservative pundits, people that, or Christian pundits or whatever, that they had too much control and now they started to point fingers and fight within each other because you always need some type of villain. But nevertheless, back on track. You see how people like Nick Fuentes feel about us. He says he's speaking for white people. If y'all want to speak for y'all, okay, you can have him speak for you guys. You guys look everywhere except towards the truth. You only see the behavior that they're describing increase in poor neighborhoods. And poor neighborhoods are nothing but the results of a perfectly executed plan. It's all a product of capitalism. I haven't personally grown an issue with capitalism. I've learned about it. I haven't grown a personal issue with it. Although I do wish that we were at a different starting point when the system was created. But that's a whole nother story. But all I'm saying is that the nasty attention that this case is getting is what's causing the support from the black community. If there weren't examples like Kyle Rittenhouse, Daniel Penny, or Luigi Mangione, then you guys would have a point. But the same people that are ashamed of the donations for Melo were sharing links for Rittenhouse, Penny, or Mangione. So I suggest that y'all just mind y'all business and leave these people alone. But obviously, y'all got a problem with doing that, considering that's why we're here in the first place. Let that marinate in your spirit, man. Let me know what you got to say in the comment section below. I'm going to get up out of here, though. This is another update with Stace. Yo.